record holder for the most yards ever passing in a single game, Rohan Davey. Emmitt Smith joins us in studio.
It's the first time I played in such a place that had that much noise.
Jacques, throw a rock and you'll hit a 3-star cornerback in Louisiana.
Jacques Talk is sponsored by Locke Meredith Injury Lawyers.
All right, well, Jake Crain has become a very popular personality when it comes to college football. Crain and Company, that is spelled C-R-A-I-N, not N-E, and he's nice enough to join us now. Happy Thanksgiving, Jake.
Yeah, well, happy Thanksgiving to you, and appreciate you having me on, my friend. I mean, we've known each other for a while now, and obviously, you know, what you've done and what you've built, it's unbelievably impressive. So I'm like Louis Lastic from Remember the Titans. If you say football, I come a running, and yeah, just very blessed. I still think I'm in a coma, to be honest with you, since I started the show. So I'm just gonna ride it until the motor stops, I guess.
Well, you guys are doing an amazing job engaging people to talk. You know, I mean, when I grew up, this didn't exist. You watched local sports at 6 and 10. You watched Sports Center and you listen to talk radio. Those things were great. But now 24/7, if a guy wants to jump on the internet at 3 a.m. and talk about college football, he can do that. He can watch your show, whether it's live or taped or whatever. And you're doing a great job of building your following.
Thanks, man. Well, you know, we always say we only know 4 things and they all start with F. And actually, you know, it's funny you bring up, you know, the past, the way it used to be. I love the barrier of entry now, and obviously the intrigue and the popularity. But man, I wish we could have that old Sports Center slots back. I used to watch it 3 times in a row, sometimes at night, and then obviously twice in a row in the morning before I went to school. But outside of that, man, I think it's been great for athletics in general.
Yeah. The Rich Eisen, Stuart Scott days.
Dude, Dan Patrick, Kenny Mayne,
Yeah.
Linda Cohn. I mean, that's who I grew up with, man.
Yeah. Kenny Mayne, I loved his dry sense of humor. He'd say 1,200 yards rushing, that's for the season, not in a game. That'd be a record, you know, that kind of
Kenny's
stuff.
Great. I've actually got the privilege to talk to him a couple times, and he's a fantastic dude, man.
Yeah. Well, all right. So Lane Kiffin, the planets have aligned for him, for his brand to never be hotter, never be bigger. And he's got a great thing going right now at Ole Miss. They're 10-1. They appear to be heading towards a playoff. They've got to take care of Mississippi State, which they're only a 7.5-point favorite in that game. And it's a rivalry game, right? That could be tricky.
Yeah, it can. And to be honest with you, I think they're in even if they lose. I think right now it's coming down to 2 things. One, having a chance, even though it's not super likely, to play in the SEC championship game if you win. And then I think if you do win, you are guaranteed a host spot for the college football playoff. But I still think a 10-2 Ole Miss would end up going on the road in the college football playoff. I still think they'd make it.
And if that's the case, there's no way he can coach them and take another job, right? He's got to step away.
I mean, you would think now if he was at, you know, like look at John Summerall at Tulane, right? Like if he said, look, you know, we're making the playoff, but I've got a chance to go to an SEC school, whether that be Auburn or Florida or LSU or whatever, you could understand that one more than being at Ole Miss. And especially with the way NIL is now and the way the game has changed, you know, there's some brands that have been uplifted and you feel like Ole Miss is one of them. I don't know how you would go about that to your team. I just, as somebody that was in it for 10 years in the coaching profession, I don't know how you do that to your team when you're at a similar level going to, I obviously wouldn't say a lateral move. I think Florida or LSU would be better jobs overall than Ole Miss. But, man, I just don't know, like, how that happens and you keep any credibility on the recruiting trail or with parents going forward. I just don't know how that works.
Well, Jake, not to make this dated, but, I mean, we're sitting here on Tuesday. I'm kind of wondering, how does he hold the ball and run out the clock through Friday? To me, this seems like a very uncomfortable week for him to navigate through this last bowl without making a decision. I mean, you know, everybody around him's got to be staring at him like he's got like 3 heads.
Well, it makes you think that, you know, maybe he already has made a decision and the decision's not to stay, because I don't see, if you were, and look, Lane Kiffin's the ultimate troll. If you were going to troll people, there would never be a better time to announce you're staying than rivalry week at going against your in-state rival to get yourself even more momentum, to get the fan base even more fired up, and then propel that momentum into the postseason. I don't think you wait during rivalry week to sign an extension, but I've always said this about Lane Kiffin. I will continue to say this about Lane Kiffin. Out of all the coaching searches I've covered, he is without a doubt the hardest to get anything concrete on, because in reality, I can't read a poker player who doesn't look at his own cards. That's the best way I can put it.
Well, he was at the altar with Auburn, right? And then walked away.
Yeah, and then his daughter wrote a letter, or like sent like a Snapchat or something. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that was a made for TV or a made for ESPN moment. I don't think it exactly went down like that.
Yeah, I didn't watch that thing. I guess I should, especially if he becomes...
Look, I just told you what happened. I mean, spoilers. Who really cares? We obviously know he stayed.
Yeah, well, I guess if he becomes the coach here, and look, reporting and talk about these things is very difficult because they could be true today and they could be wrong tomorrow, and people can circle back and say you're wrong. Right now, as we're sitting here, it does feel like there's some momentum and talk that he's coming to LSU. Now, you could go to bed tonight, Jake, say, I want sushi for lunch tomorrow, and wake up and say, nope, I want barbecue instead. So
yeah,
just like a recruit who goes to bed saying, I'm going to LSU, and wakes up the next day, changes his mind to Alabama for whatever reason. Only Lane Kiffin is in Lane Kiffin's head and knows what he's going to do. So we're guessing, but how do we feel?
Man, I'm just, and again, you have to take everything with Lane Kiffin with a grain of salt. Like, this isn't your run-of-the-mill normal head coaching personality that typically follows the bouncing balls or the precedent that was set before him. Whether you like Lane or not, that's how he goes about his business. I just, again, back to my earlier point, I don't think you wait, that you hold your fan base hostage during rivalry week to say you're coming back. Mm-hmm. To me, I think it's 70-30 he's gone. It may end up being even higher than that at the end of the day. And I think you make a great point. I don't know how this info makes it through Friday. I don't know how it makes it through the game. I wouldn't be shocked if we got some sort of inkling or some sort of leakage during the game that Lane Kiffin is going to be leaving Ole Miss. So the obvious answer, the way the balls are lining up, is that Lane is leaving, but you are dealing with basically the Heath Ledger Joker of college football. He may just burn the whole pile of money and he just wants to see everybody suffer. I don't know.
Yeah, what's Batman, the old man that talks to him?
You talking about Alfred?
Alfred, yeah. Some people.
Yeah, Alfred. Alfred retired 2 years ago, so it's he's on his own. Dan Lanning's on his own.
But the famous line from Alfred was, "Some people just want to see the world burn." Right?
Some men just want to watch the world burn. Part of me thinks Lane's got a little bit of that in him.
So, Bill Parcells, he used to describe Sean Payton when Payton was his assistant as Dennis the Menace.
Yeah,
and Lane Kiffin strikes me as a 50-year-old Dennis the Menace. Now, on one hand, is he a victim of the calendar? And is he put in a tough spot? Yes. On the other hand, are there maybe some things that he shouldn't tweet or say? Probably so, right? I mean, when he's tweeting a picture of an airplane and was it devotionals each day or pages from a book that correspond with area codes of Baton Rouge and other, right?
Yeah. I'll say this. I'm a firm believer in, and I don't think we get this enough as a society, and multiple things can be true at once. I think that the calendar has, put him in kind of a predicament, right? But then also, Lane is kind of built for the spotlight. He obviously wants the spotlight. I think, John, you say, oh, well, it's all just the calendar. None of it's Lane Kiffin. Well, man, John Summerall's handling it pretty well. I haven't seen the same type things in that coaching search, and his name's up for some big names, and his team is still playoff relevant. I mean, heck, they went out. They're going to be the group of 5 rep. So I think some of it is Lane enjoys this. This is part of his personality. And the other is the calendar. But what I find the most interesting was the second part of your commentary there, in that, yeah, does Lane do things the way that most coaches do? No. Is there some things that he tweets out that I would not tweet out if I was in the same position? Yes. But if you look at where Lane's sitting right now, it's worked out. I mean, you're Hansel from the Male Model Awards right now. I mean, there's no name that is more synonymous with college football right now than Lane Kiffin. So in a way, it has worked. It has gotten to the point where he's about to be mega rich at a great job regardless, but you could end up being the head coach at LSU. And part of me starting to believe, my friend, that LSU needs a little bit of that nuts at the head coaching position. I mean, I remember watching Les Miles and Ed Orgeron. One guy ate the grass, the other one smoked it, and they won 2 national championships. And Brian Kelly, who's supposed to be the great organizer, the CEO that could just get LSU consistent, well, he's gone in a flash, really, it feels like. So this point, maybe kind of a Looney Lane's a little bit of what LSU needs.
Yeah. Yeah, Kelly, I mean, he's quickly become old news, but he's not, and they're fighting about money and whatnot. But just real quick, he just wasn't anything that they expected. I mean, his first year was his best year. They overachieved. They beat Alabama, and they reached the SEC championship game. They were punching way out of their weight class with Georgia that first year. But after that, it was just up and down. And this year, the worst team he's had. And I mean, look, they're beating Western Kentucky. He's not the coach anymore, but they're beating Western Kentucky 13-10 with the team that he organized and put on the field. So it's rough.
Yeah, and that was the most shocking part, because you felt like the biggest positive attribute that Brian Kelly brought was he was going to bring consistent, organized structure to a monster, right? It's one thing to just be a monster. It's another thing to be able to control the monster. And you thought, oh my gosh, Brian Kelly, LSU recruits itself. We know that they're a national brand. They can get as white hot as anybody. The tradition has been awesome, and we know what the 2019 team did and all this other stuff. That's why it's so surprising that the most organized guy wasn't able to win the biggest trophy when you thought that's all LSU needed. They needed a steering wheel for the Mega Ranger, and turns out that that's not what the recipe called for.
Yeah. Well, you got to work, right? And then maybe, I mean, that's pretty simple. But when you're 60 and somebody hands you a contract that's 90% guaranteed, I mean, do you work as hard as you did at Notre Dame, or was he always?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Let's talk positive about Kiffin. He's a brilliant offensive mind.
Yeah.
And maybe, okay, now he's entering his 50s, and I'm not going to compare him to Nick Saban. I'm just going to say Nick Saban didn't win a national title till I think he was 52. So a lot of times your 50s are your, it's where you really come into your own maybe as a professional. You've learned a lot. You've been through a lot. And certainly maybe he was given some opportunities early in his career that he hadn't earned, being the head coach in the NFL in his early 30s, and the coach at Tennessee one year, he bails on them, goes to USC, he bounces around. He has settled in at Ole Miss. This is his 6th year, so he's kind of putting that job hopper thing behind him a bit. He's still, hey, get your popcorn ready, right? I mean, he does speak off the cuff sometimes and puts himself in a bind. I don't care what he says, and I don't care what he tweets for the most part. But overall, just he is a very strong coach, and I think LSU will win with him.
Oh, I agree. If they get him, I mean, I think it's a match made in heaven. And I think, there's multiple things going on here when you do look at the positives. Obviously, he's a brilliant offensive mind, but it's one thing to be able to know what you want to run, to design new things, right? To implement those things and get the players to understand them at least close to the level that you understand them. But what I think Lane's biggest offensive strength is just, and this is God-given, I feel like this is a God-given thing, his natural ability and feel as a play caller. Because what Lane does to you, it's a story throughout the game. It's not like, well, we're just going to call this play and we're going to call this play. He is setting you up for things throughout the game. He will show you something early to see how you react to it, and then he will make you pay for it later. And from a tendency standpoint, it's really hard to kind of nail him down because he'll pitch backwards in some games, which means he'll pass to run in some games. He'll run to pass in some games. And when you give him a quarterback that has the ability to make those improvisational plays and the ability to run and bring that element, you're basically adding a sword onto a top of another sword. So as a play caller and having that feel and understanding of when to call something and why to call something, I think he's very gifted. I also believe, as somebody who doesn't love recruiting, and Lane does not love recruiting, that is not something that is unknown or something that is a rumor. He does not love recruiting. The NIL era is perfect for Lane Kiffin. The transfer portal era is perfect for Lane Kiffin. You don't have to go out and kill in the jungle to get your food anymore. If you got enough in the vault, you can just Uber Eats it to where you're at. So I think that's helped out Lane as well. And then again, I mean, he's famous. Like Lane Kiffin is famous. So all these high school players, all these transfer portal guys know who Lane Kiffin is. And you made the reference earlier. He was kind of like
Dennis the
I
Menace?
forgot Dennis the Menace. To me, he's like Tom Hanks in Big. That's what I think. He's like just still a little kid that's in a grown man's body that is a savant on the offensive side of the ball, and then quarterback development. I mean, this man has his quarterbacks ready regardless who it is, what their skill set is, what their experience is. I think that as well is something that you never have to worry about a Lane Kiffin quarterback or offense. And if you hire him and keep Blake Baker, like now we're talking Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah. Well, at his press conference, Jake will get those little corns and he can, like in Big, right? At Tom Hanks when he was, you know,
I just
great
like
movie.
you walk in and there's a floor piano in his office.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you bring up a good point there, assistants, because there's always this talk at LSU about, well, the next guy better keep X, Y, and Z. And so Blake Baker, you know, if the dominoes fall and say Summerall leaves to go to Auburn or Florida, could Blake Baker become the next Tulane coach? He played there. He's a rising star in coaching. That might happen. I don't know. But I know LSU fans, I think for the most part, want to keep Blake Baker. Corey Raymond is the DBU guy. Do they keep Corey Raymond? And then you got Frank Wilson, obviously the interim head coach right now, who a lot of guys are tied to as well. So, you know, they always say you can't have a relationship with conditions, but I mean, what's the conversation with Lane like if he does take the job or whoever takes the job about, hey, let's try to keep these guys?
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you off.
go ahead. Yeah, I'm done.
No, I was just going to say, if it was always just go about it the way I would go about it. To me, I obviously want to bring my core guys, the guys that help me steer the ship the most, who make it easier for me, that I trust the most. Then when you're looking at going to a new place, I always look at recruiting first. That's the main. Who do I know? Because we know the state of Louisiana loves LSU, right? Who are the guys that not only can give me the intro, but can get me into places that matter the most, the fastest, and know the lay of the land the most? Because geography and understanding it is as important as anything when it comes to recruiting. So you bring up Corey, you bring up Frank Wilson, guys that have deep roots in high school and recruiting in the state of Louisiana and know how the system works there. To me, I would go in there and try and keep the best parts, because I think there's some similarities right now in where LSU and Auburn are. Like you both got a DC that a lot of people want to keep because that was the best part of your team, and you feel like from a relationship and recruiting standpoint, that guy can do a lot. But you also want to change the culture enough where there's not too many holdovers that would poison the well of this new regime. That's the balance that you're playing. But if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm going to keep the guys that are the most important, recruiting. And then if it comes down to, hey, Blake Baker, I don't have to worry about the defense at all, which I don't think you will. I know he has Pete Golding there. But I would keep Blake. I would keep Frank. I would keep Corey. And I think there's a good chance he will do that.
And the big wild card out there, Jake, obviously is Ed Ogeron, Coach O. He wants to get back in coaching. And look, is he going to be a head coach again at a school like LSU? I would guess not. But he is a superstar assistant and a guy who's not afraid to recruit and a guy who knows Louisiana backwards and forwards. It would be hilarious that LSU would just finish buying him out, I believe, in December. They're finally done paying for him as the head coach.
Pay him again?
Yeah, come back, you know. Well, it's great to be back. I always love LSU.
No, you'd have to do it for free. It'd have to be pro bono after that, after that buyout. You know, it's interesting to me because, you know, a lot of guys don't want to go back and be position coaches or even coordinators under guys that they were the head coach when that person was a position coach or coordinator, or at a place where they were a head coach. But if there's one guy that I think just wouldn't mind it, It'd be Ed O. And let's face it, if Bobby Petrino can go back and end up the interim head coach at Arkansas, anything, Ed Orgeron could be the president of the university at the end of the day.
And Lane Kiffin is his buddy. I mean, they have a relationship, and Coach O would swallow his pride to be an assistant at LSU for Lane. I think. I don't know.
I agree with you. I actually think that's what, and that's a very rare exception to the rule, I think.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. I could just imagine him going back to the student section and pumping his fist and wearing purple again and all that. That would
pro bono though. Pro bono.
Gotta do it for free, huh?
Yeah, pro bono.
Yeah. I agree with you. I can just see Lane Kiffin in purple calling a play and pumping his fist and scoring. And he's kind of got that attitude too that really leans into the younger fan base, the one that, want to sing neck and
he's a troll. Lane Kiffin is a troll. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And look, it's worked for him.
Let's talk about the calendar real quick, because I thought Nick Saban made some great points. And you've been in coaching.
Yeah, 7 years Division I. Yeah, COVID was the only reason I got out of it while we were waiting, and then I went and bought a $50 mic, and now we're here.
Awesome. Well, you made the right decision, and
I think so too. I get to see my kids, so that's
exactly.
That's
your family. You're not on the road trying to recruit, and then some guy throws $7 million at a quarterback you've been recruiting for 2 years and steals him at the last second. So
I don't know if I could do it.
But the early signing period, never liked it. Don't know why we're doing it right before Christmas. It's just giving these coaches more work and everything. It used to be Wednesday, first day in February, like February 5th, 6th, something like that. Why can't, I guess the horse is out of the barn now, but I would like it if they don't sign until February and they don't go to school maybe until the summer semester. And then Coach Saban brought up like an OTA in May. Let's start the spring in May instead. And look, as somebody who covers sports, there's a million things going on in March. You throw spring football in there with it. It's like, geez, we got so much going on. Do it in May, then take 2 months off, come back in August, and late signing period, and maybe these coaches could coach all the way through the playoffs. Is that a decent idea?
Yeah. Look, I think with the calendar, it's like half right, half wrong. Like, I like that we've narrowed it down to the one transfer portal window. I think that was the right move on the calendar. And, you called it the early signing period. It's signing day.
Right.
Like
nobody signs in February.
Yeah, that's like, but what I don't understand, and I get the thinking was, all right, well, if you can sign in December, that means a lot of the recruiting's done. So you coach the bowl game, you coach the playoff without worrying about high school recruiting. Well, the problem with that is now we have the transfer portal. So like you still have recruiting going on. So you really kind of cut the beast in half when you could have just killed the whole thing in a certain way. Or you say, you know what? Let's go ahead and keep this signing day in February and just do what we were doing. And if you want to sign an early enroll, then sign an early enroll. Like, it's not like you didn't have the possibility to do that. Like, I know it's different with grades in that situation, but there were a couple things about it. We kept both of them. I'm not a fan of that. I don't understand why we did that. I get why the grades part of it, because some guys aren't going to, know they're qualified that early. But I feel like we could have gone a roundabout way or a more wholesome way to do it, and we didn't do it. We just spliced it up a little bit and made it a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, and it's so insanity now with these buyouts and, our team lost 2 or 3 games. We need to fire the coach and we need to get a jump on it because it's signing day coming up and we got to get players. And I don't know. It's just,
well, I mean, yeah. What do you do if you're waiting on a coach? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're looking at LSU and like Lane Kiffin. Like, so wait, LSU's supposed to just have a pinky promise from Lane Kiffin that he's coming, and we're gonna wait until we get through, into January before anything has happened. I just don't. Yeah. That's the tough part to me. I don't know how you do that even with the transfer portal.
Let's talk about real quick. Okay, if Kiffin doesn't come, plan B. I've had some people tell me they think Eli Drinkwitz would kill it at LSU and that he's obsessed with the roster and that people that invest in him at Missouri feel like they're going to get a return on their investment. Twitter, for what it's worth, and sometimes you should not pay too much attention to what people say on there because it is not a reflection sometimes of the way people feel. But there's been a lot of pushback from LSU fans on Drinkwitz, whether it's really superficial things like, I don't like the way he looks, to he's not a fit. He looks like he's from The Office, Dwight from The Office, whatever I've heard.
Hey, Mark Mangino went at Kansas, and he was so fat his eyes were closing.
Oh, Mark. Big boy. So he doesn't. Drinkwitz doesn't has poor record against winning teams. Look, they're Missouri. They don't have much tradition. It's cold. They don't have much to recruit from. How would he do at LSU? I don't know. Seems like Marcus Freeman wouldn't leave Notre Dame to come to LSU.
I don't think
Summerall,
so.
would that work? Clark Lee, would he leave Vanderbilt? Dillingham kind of the young Kiffin without the drama, the 35-year-old Kiffin, the offensive mind?
Yeah, he's kind of in that flavor of ice cream. He's not, 100% organic Kiffin, but he's in kind of that younger, understands the way that young people use social media and kind of think he's a little more hard-nosed than what a lot of people know and kind of what Kiffin is. I think one of the reasons there's been a lot of pushback to Drink is because he's not Kiffin. Like, it's a lot of people are like, well, if we don't get the star of the show, the shiny object, then the next one's terrible. Like, it's like the opposite of the backup quarterback being the most. When the backup quarterback's not the most popular? When you have Jaden Daniels. So, like, it's, to me, it's kind of a little bit of Eli's a victim of not being the top guy. And I'm sure that they'll find reasons why, if it's not Drink, the next guy, why Clark Lee isn't good enough or why Dillingham isn't good enough. But that's just the nature of the beast, and that's the way it goes. Look, I think Drink's done a really good job at Missouri. It's amazing. A lot of people bring up these records against great teams, like we haven't seen other coaches struggle with that and then figure it out. Like, I don't know, Lane Kiffin, like being able to put consistency together. And a lot of it was Lane had the opposite problem. He would play good in big games and win some of them, but then go lose to Kentucky or lose to somebody he's not supposed to lose to. And it seems like Lane, even though the Washington State game was kind of scary, seems to have found a way to get past that, which, again, is going to lead to more success for him. But, yeah, LSU is going to be able to choose from the top candidates in this cycle to coach there because it's such an attractive job. It still is. I don't care what anybody says. So to me, if I was an LSU fan, I wouldn't be worrying about being able to, get a great coach. It's, can you get the best coach? And that's why I think Kiffin's the most attractive.
Jake, when it comes to jobs, the things that we used to always talk about that mattered, like one that would always come, stadium size. Like,
Yeah.
Vaught Hemingway Stadium is never going to be referred to as, boy, I hate to play there because it's so loud, I can't hear myself think. It's not going to be up there with Tiger Stadium, College Station, Texas A&M, the Swamp when it's rocking, Jordan Hare Stadium. But then I go to Vanderbilt and see LSU get pushed around by Vandy in a 42,000-seat stadium where I think LSU had more fans there than Vandy did for a home game. And then I Google, how big is Indiana Stadium? 53,000. Okay. So, like, these things, do they matter as much as they used to the recruit and the kid that wants to play? Or does he just care about how much he's getting paid? Or what do you think is important to the current player?
I know what I would do. Like, if you had a 50,000-seat stadium and you were going to pay me $1 million, I would go there over a stadium that has 100,000 and you're paying me $200,000. I can promise you that. Yeah. So I think a lot of it at the end, the money's going to talk. It's, to me, where that comes into a effect, and it's rare, is when you have a very high level place that you're thinking about going and maybe like a Vanderbilt. Like, you look at this Jared Curtis kid, the quarterback, the number one quarterback that's looking at Georgia and Vandy, and some people think he's going to go to Vandy. I think a lot of it just comes down to the money, because once you get to the Georgias and the Bamas and the LSUs, the facilities are all magnificent. Like, they're all Four Seasons. Like, it's not some huge difference. But again, that's what's made it so impressive what Clark Lee's been able to do. That's what made it so impressive what Lane Kiffin's been able to do, because your castle's not as big as theirs. Your horse isn't as fast as theirs. Your swords aren't as sharp as theirs, yet you are winning battle after battle, son. And it is so impressive. So I don't think that, or like, the old thing was like tradition. Like, their tradition is so, look, well, traditionally, you weren't giving me $500,000 to come play football here, and it's legal, right? Yeah. I could tell, which is worse. Tell me if you agree with me on this. I think NIL is worse for the players. You want to know why? Because it used to be, you go on an official visit to a place, like let's say you go to Georgia, and they pay you $100,000. They're like, and you're like, I'm going to commit to Georgia. Then you go to Alabama and they give you another 100,000. You're like, I'm going to commit to Alabama. Well, you do that 5 times and then you commit to one school. What were the other ones going to do? Tell on you? So you got to pocket all the money and there was no repercussions. Now, there's like, you don't get it unless you sign. I can't just give you the money and hope you're telling me the truth. So in a way, I think it actually has cost some players some money.
Yeah, well, that's real talk, isn't it? Yeah, it's like the drug dealer who says, "Hey, cop, this guy sold me some bad cocaine. Track him down."
Yeah, go arrest him. Go arrest him. He's been selling me great cocaine for 6 years, but this one sucked.
That's good stuff. All right. Well, I don't know how we should wrap this thing up. What about to a coach? I mean, does Kiffin care about stadium size and things like that? I mean, you go to LSU because you've seen that Les Miles going to a national championship, Ed Ogeron, the same things we said about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, his body of work is much better than Ed Ogeron's body of work. But Ed Ogeron surged, and we know what happened in 2019, and Kelly couldn't do that. So Kiffin looks at the job. I mean, he's been in that stadium many times. He knows what LSU's about. He doesn't need a tour of LSU. He knows what it is.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, is stadium size like a deciding factor for Lane when you're picking between LSU or Florida? I don't think so. To me, I still think one of LSU's biggest strengths, even with NIL, right, even with paying, is that you are not competing with anybody in state for players in a state that has really, really good high school football. And high school football that has some places where if you go get a guy and develop him, who knows how good he can be. There's no Auburn to your Alabama. There's no Mississippi State to your Ole Miss. Hell, there's no Vandy to your Tennessee.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? What are the Saints gonna steal a recruit? That isn't gonna happen. Is La Tech gonna come in there and swipe one from LSU at the last? No. Even Tulane, that's at their highest precipice right now, their highest peak. I just wanted to use the word precipice because I never get to use it. It's one of like 4 big words I know.
Frank
they're
Wilson
not
likes
go in and
to use
steal
the word
LSU
holistically. Holistically, I've heard that.
Holistically, yeah. How about that one? Cone on our show used one the other day. I'm still I don't think it's a real word. I think he said anachronistic. I still don't think that's a real word. But yeah, I think there's so many attractive things about LSU. They're a golden egg location. That's what I call it. And there's no competition within a state that is very talent rich. And I think that at the end of the day is a very, very big selling point. And man, LSU just a hot brand. It's like when one of your favorite rappers, old or young, drops a new album. Like when LSU's album hits, and if it hits, it's worldwide, like prestige worldwide.
I joke with somebody the other day. Is there any program in the country that goes from roaring as loud as LSU does to becoming a sleeping giant, then roaring again? I mean, we've been down that up and down.
Yeah, it's like y'all hibernate.
My cheap Zoom is running out real quick. The Florida job, when I grew up, I'd hear about the University of Florida, and I thought, that must be paradise. It must be the ultimate place to go to college. I'm thinking of beaches and palm trees and blue water and all that stuff. And Gainesville, I got nothing against it, but Gainesville ain't that. And
it ain't Miami.
It ain't South Beach. No, it's not even Tampa. I mean, and they haven't got it right in a long time, right, Jake? I mean, they've had a lot of coaches over there, and they have not got it right for a while.
Yeah, and look, I think you agree with me. Florida's still a great job, but it's not – I think NIL – not that Florida doesn't have money, but I think NIL and what they have in-state has hurt them as much as anybody. And, I mean, you look around – I mean, just look at how many teams are in that state, like number one, that matter, that actually legitimately matter. You have Florida. You have Florida State. You have Miami, you have USF, you have UCF. FAU really that ain't gonna scare you, but Boca's awesome. If the Florida Gators were in Boca, they'd be a problem. No, I think it's lost a little bit of luster. It's still a really good job. But yeah, Gainesville, it's a great college town. Look, I'm from Auburn, Alabama. I was raised in a college town. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's not as sexy as some would think it would be if you've ever been to Gainesville.
Florida Atlantic, the Owls, Kiffin was there. And then if you wondered what Tom Herman had been up to, I think that was his last job. You talk about a guy who was, we got to have him. He's the greatest. And Not a nice guy, Tom Herman. Didn't like him too much. Smart guy, good coach, but boy, he washed out.
Yeah, that one that was a huge fall from grace, and it felt like it happened so quick. Like as quick as he kind of had this meteoric rise.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, when it comes down to players. Like if you can recruit, you're a great coach. I've seen coaches that could barely. I don't know if Tommy Tuberville could draw up inside zone, but he knew who to hire and he knew how to get the players. At the end of the day, the players are what matters. And if you can get good players, I've seen geniuses schematically look like idiots because they have bad players. That's what it comes down to. The branch manager is only as good as the employees, and it's the same thing in college football.
Yeah, I still do a double take when I see Tommy Tuberville on TV now, at the White House or whatever. And, Jake, I just learned yesterday doing a Google search, like people to interview and stuff. I said, what is Derek Dooley up to? Where is he?
Yeah, he's running.
He's running for Senate in Georgia. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, look, it's just, I just find it funny. It's like, where they're like, hey, Senator Tuberville, what do we need to do about immigration? He's like, man, I think we need to run it. I think we need to run it and play good defense. That's what I think. I don't know. I find it, they're so different. Like, it's such a different thing. It's like, yeah, man, it'd be like, hey, I got fired at Edwards. I was like, yeah, I got fired at LSU, but now I'm a baker. Like, it's just such a randomly different profession. But
Yeah.
who knows? I think all politicians, I don't trust any of them. So.
Yeah, that's why I'd be like Herschel Walker. Everyone loved him. Then he got into that. Now half people don't like him.
Yeah, no, like, oh, he was overrated. Like, dude, you got a poster of him, signed poster in your bedroom. You used to cry at before you fell asleep.
That's why Drew Brees, they used to say, Drew Brees, no, Drew, don't get into that. We like you. We don't want half of the people.
What's funny is when we came to the Daily Wire, we don't do politics or anything like that, but I told him, I was like, look, they're like, look, it can get pretty vicious over here by just being associated with us. And I'm like, look, I'm from the sports world, okay? I understand hate. I grew up in the Iron Bowl. Buddy, was I wrong? There's hate in football and sports. There ain't no hate like that political hate. That's a different level of vitriol toward another human being.
Typically the most mean-spirited people on social media, you go to their profile picture and they're political people.
It is cutthroat, man. Like, goodness gracious. And there's only 2 teams. That's the biggest thing. There's only 2 teams. So, like, can you imagine if there was only 2 college football teams, the amount of hate that would be between those two? So it's wild to me, to be honest.
Yeah, your guy killed 5 people. Well, it's not as bad as your guy. He killed 7. That.
So hey, look, at the end of the day, it's just, man, it's wild.
Well, let's finish on a positive note. Thanks for your time, Jake. Congratulations on all your success with those other knuckleheads that you do stuff with, and keep up the great work and have a very happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, brother. Really, I've always respected what you've done, and anytime you need me, we need to get you on Crain & Company here soon. I'm sure we will once this LSU thing works its way out, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And if you haven't fried a turkey, do it. Trust me. Just make sure it's not frozen when you drop it in. That's basically the plot to Oppenheimer movie.
I saw that movie twice. What a movie.
I saw it twice. I still don't understand, but I'm glad they do.
Yeah.
It's like Interstellar. No clue, but it looks, it was fun to watch.
Spoiler, they don't even show you dropping the bomb. You wait. They don't even show you. But the
biggest tease ever. Glad I wasn't there.
Thank you, Jake. We'll see you soon,
buddy. Appreciate you.